what's that? Why? What's important? But where's Pearl Harbor? Where is it, young lady? It's in Hawaii. Okay, and is Hawaii part of the United States? Yeah, and that's a whole nother story, isn't it? How in the world did we get Hawaii? And I don't have time to tell you that story, do I? But let's assume we have Hawaii, right? Okay, it's not a state yet, but it's a possession, correct? And it's got a what there? Pearl Harbor is a what?
Military base.
Yeah, it's a military base, but it's a specific kind of military base. It's a
Navy base?
It's a Navy base. What do we have at a Navy base?
Ships and subs.
Yeah, what kind of ships?
Battleships.
Battleships. What?
Carriers.
Carriers. Why are carriers going to be so important to this war?
Because they have like a runway that like lets the planes take off.
Yeah, yeah. The carriers have planes on them, right? Good answer. Okay, so those carriers are going to be the key because you can't go out running around in the middle of the ocean conquering islands if you don't have planes, right? Because you got to bomb these islands and take them over. Okay, so when we go to war against Japan, they already control pretty much everything out here. Okay, all of these islands, all the way down here and up. Okay, they've taken over this place here. What's this called? What's this place called? This is a possession of the United States. It's the Philippines. It's where General MacArthur is. He's going to get kicked out of there by the Japanese, and he's going to go run with his tail between his legs, and he's going to go run down to where? Where are we safe? Down here. Off the screen here. What's down there? What's down there? Oh, I just gave you the answer.
Australia?
Australia. So we're going to set up base here in Australia, and we're out here in Pearl Harbor, right? So our strategy to win this war is going to be to fly planes from Pearl Harbor out here to start taking islands here. Now, right in here are the Marshall Islands. Okay, not that far from Pearl Harbor. That's where Louis is going to be what? Oh, we better not give away the book. How about if I just shut up, right? We don't want to give away the book. Okay, so we're going to go from island. We have to free these islands. And then you got the Solomon Islands. And you got Saipan. And as you get closer here, I can't read it, but we've got islands that are up. Oh, here they are. You got Iwo Jima here, and you got Okinawa here, and right there's Japan. So the idea is to take these islands because we want to get close enough to Japan to do what? What do we want to do?
Drop the A-bomb.
Well, we don't have the A-bomb. There's no such thing. We don't have the A-bomb until the middle of the summer of 1945. All it is a project that might or might not work. So if we're going to invade that country, what do we got to do first? Before you can invade anybody, you got to do what? What would you do? You're running this war campaign. How would you get Japan ready for an invasion? Now, from our perspective, not from the Japanese. If you're the Japanese, you're going to dig all kinds of holes in the ground, and you're going to make all kinds of bunkers and all kinds of places to hide, right? To get ready for the invasion at the end of the war. But the Americans want to do what to Japan? Obviously. What do planes do?
Drop bombs.
Drop bombs. Can you drop bombs from Pearl Harbor on Japan? Why not? Too far away. Your plane's going to run out of gas, and it's going to go. Well, you might get there, but then what's going to happen to your plane? In fact, guess what we did after Pearl Harbor? General Doolittle flew a raid, and he went over and he bombed, and then they crashed in China because they couldn't come back. They didn't have enough fuel. And some of them got caught, and some of them got away. It's a great story. How many of you have watched the movie Pearl Harbor? Go home and watch the movie Pearl Harbor, okay? Because it's all about Pearl Harbor, which you should know about. And then you get to see the Doolittle raid at the end of the movie, where we go back and retaliate. It's really cool. Besides, it's a classic movie, right? You got a love story, the whole bit. You're going to love it. Okay, so the idea is we're going to take one island and leapfrog to the next. It's called island hopping. Write it down. So we're gonna hop from island. When we take these islands, we're gonna build airstrips. And then we're gonna hop to these islands and build airstrips. Then we're gonna hop to Saipan and build airstrips. Then we're gonna take Iwo Jima. The problem is that on every one of these islands are what?
Japanese.
Japanese soldiers, and they're dug in. And what's their samurai spirit? How do they fight? Do they give up?
No.
They fight to the what?
Death.
To the death. And so I'm telling you, I've seen movies where some of these people on these islands, rather than be captured, jumped off the cliffs down to and just committed suicide, rather than be captured. Okay. After the war, they found people dug into caves. They never knew the war was over. They were ready to fight to the finish, right? So remember that. Okay. So this is the theater in Asia here. And it's all about island hopping this way, and then we're going to also come up this way and retake the Philippines. Okay, so there's going to be the Battle of the Philippines. There's going to be battles out here. Where's Midway? Right here. This was one of the first big battles. Coral Sea was the first one, right down here. Guadalcanal was another one. You've heard of these battles. You don't have to know them. I'm not here to teach you every battle. Okay, but they made movies out of these. There's a movie called Midway. There's Battle of Coral Sea, Guadalcanal. They made movies in the 50s about all these battles. If you ever want to go watch John Wayne, movies, right? Okay. The point is that Louis is flying he's on a B-24. Okay, and you need to learn about the B-24. Okay, and he's flying, and what's his job? What's his job? Anybody know? Maybe I shouldn't tell you. I'll tell you anyway, because I like to give away things. He's a bombardier. What's the bombardier do?
He tells when to drop the bombs.
He doesn't tell when, he does it, right? He sights it in, and then he might have to get permission from the pilot, but pilot says, hey, bombardier, do your thing, and he does, right? He zeroes it in, and he knows how to use the equipment, and he drops the bombs, right? Okay, so are there any questions? What's going to happen here is the Japanese are going to have all of this by 42, just like the Germans, but then after that, we're going to start winning. And then we're going to win a whole mess of battles in 44 and 45, and by the summer of 45, we're going to be right here in Okinawa, and we're going to be ready to take Japan, but Japan won't surrender. And we know it's going to take 1 million men invasion to beat them. And that's when we find out that the A-bomb worked in the desert of Alamogordo in New Mexico, right? Outside of Santa Fe, in a place called Los Alamos is where the lab was. And they blew up an A-bomb in the desert, big mushroom cloud, right? And they had 2 bombs left. They had 3. One, the test worked, but the test bomb wasn't dropped out of a plane, was it? So we don't know if it's even going to go off. But they're going to leave from an island called Tinian Island, and the pilot is, I forget, who's the pilot again? Anyway, his plane is called the Enola Gay, and they're going to drop the bomb on Hiroshima right here. And then 2 days later, they're going to drop a bomb on Nagasaki. And then they're going to quit. Okay? So that's the war in the Pacific. So, was there an invasion in the end? No. But a lot of these guys you're going to talk to were sitting off on some island getting ready for the invasion. And then they probably did come out into Japan, and they might have been part of the occupation forces. Some of these guys didn't join till late 45, and their job was to go to Japan and help change Japan into a democracy, right? And then a lot of them were in the army 5 years later in 1950, and where did they have to go fight then? Korea. So then these guys, some of the guys you talk to, who might have been stationed here in Japan, are going to be sent across here, and the Pusan, they're going to actually come in and invade up here, and at the invasion of Incheon. And we don't have time to talk about the Korean War, but your guy that you have might be a Korean War vet. So you can't say, oh, I don't want to know about Korea. You're interviewing a veteran. You got to get his whole story. Got it? You let him talk, right? And then once he kind of peters out, that's when you got to start asking questions. That's when you got to go back and say, now, how old were you when you joined? And they'll say, well, I was just a teenager. Well, how did you get in the service? What did they do? Did they train you? Okay, and then you were sent over on a ship. Where were you? Oh, in Italy? Now, who were you fighting? Oh, we were fighting the Nazis, the Germans. Tell me, what was your job? Were you in combat, or were you like a cook, or what did you do? And then the guy will tell you, well, what was it like to be a cook? What was your daily job? Remember, a lot of these guys are not combat soldiers, okay? I mean, more than half the people that I fought in the war, they might have been finance clerks. They might have been cooks, right? They might have been sitting on a ship as a mechanic, right? Keeping the ship afloat, right? So they all had jobs, and they're all meaningful. So you don't want to demean anybody. You want to make sure that they feel that their service was valuable. Does that make sense? And can you please use your head? Because you can't just ask the questions that are on the piece of paper you have, okay? You have to come up with your own questions extemporaneously. Do you know what that means, extemporaneously? It means the questions aren't on the paper, but if the guy starts telling a really good story about capturing these German soldiers, you got to roll with it, right? And get him to tell you more. Because these guys only tell you a little bit. You need to get them to open up and really tell you the juicy stuff, right? Because they don't like to talk about dead bodies. I don't know, maybe you don't like to hear about dead bodies, but you want to get them to tell the story. Questions now. You're gonna be given, you're gonna be put in groups of what? 3, I think? And the 3 of you are going to try to get this guy to come in to the resource center, correct? And interview him, right? You don't know about this yet, huh? Okay, but if you can't get him to come in, let's say he's on a walker and he's 89 years old and he doesn't move around,